Welcome, everyone. Thank you for stopping by and coming here to our week 6 new student weekly checklist webinar. This week's topic is navigating your financial account. So I'm going to introduce myself here, and I will have each participant, each panelist here introduce themselves as well. My name is Melanie McManaman, and I am the coordinator of the first year experience here at Lewis and Clark. I'm going to pass it on to each person to say hi and introduce themselves and their role here, starting with Judith.
Hello, everyone. I'm Judith, and I'm the Student Assistant Director for the first year experience.
Hi, everybody. I'm Anastasia, and I work in the financial aid office.
Hi, everyone. I'm Carrie, and I'm the Director of Student Departmental Account Services.
Hi, everyone. My name is Amanda Aldridge. I am the Student Account Specialist for students with last names A through L.
And hi, I'm Katie. I'm the Student Account Specialist for students whose last names start with M through Z.
Perfect. Hey, so first off, just a couple of reminders. We are working through our checklist, hopefully. Last week, we talked a lot about academics and liberal arts here at Lewis and Clark, and some of the tasks that we were hoping you got to last week. If not, no worries. Please continue to work on them. There were some placement exams that potentially, if they applied to you, you should have started or taken, one of them being the world languages placement exam. We also had the ALEX mathematics placement exam and the music theory. Again, if those apply to you, if you have questions about anything, you can always reach out to us at the first year account, which will be firstyear@lclark.edu. Any questions about any of these checklist task items, we're happy to help or connect you with the person that you need. Another task, the academic integrity tutorial. This applies to every student. Every incoming student needs to complete the academic integrity tutorial through Moodle. You have to self-enroll in the course, so it doesn't just automatically populate in your course. You do have to be sure that you need to self-enroll in it. And there are instructions on the checklist website in case you need to know where to start. Also, learning about Moodle. So Moodle is the school's system, learning management system, and there is a crash course kind of Moodle available for you from our friends in the Ed Tech department in IT. This week, again, is all about finances. So your tasks, we have learning about managing your Lewis and Clark costs. There are some helpful links on our checklist page to do so. A couple other really important tasks are going to be enroll a designee as an authorized party, which you will hear student accounts talk about in this webinar today. Completing the health insurance waiver if you would like to waive health insurance because you have your own health insurance. Again, we'll mention that in the webinar today. And finally, settling your student account. All of these have due dates and deadlines, and we'll talk a little bit more about them in the webinar today. Just a little shout out, we are in a webinar format, so you can see that there is a Q&A feature. I see that there's already a question in there. Amazing. But I just wanted to give a little shout out that we're going to be talking through this a little bit. And we're gonna hear from student accounts, but as questions arise, please feel free to drop them in the Q&A. We have a lot of panelists, as you can see on this webinar, that will be helping answer questions as we go throughout the webinar, but also at the end, we'll get all of your questions answered. But if you think of something and you want to know an answer to it, go ahead and drop it in the Q&A at any point throughout the presentation. And then Carrie, do you want to give a little intro?
Yeah, so for our portion of the presentation, it's actually going to be a video presentation. So we've created a video that is going to guide you through how to navigate through your student account and provide you with those important due dates and all those kinds of nuts and bolts basic financial information that you'll need. And this video is going to be available on the NSO site. Is that right, Melanie? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So don't feel like if you missed something that this was your one shot of being able to get that information, because you will be able to go back and watch the video again. So if you want to go ahead and click play, Melanie, I'm all set.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Lewis and Clark College. My name is Carrie Barnes, Director of Student Accounts. During this presentation, you will be introduced to student account staff members, provided with some important due dates. I will share with you how you can access the Student Account Center, show you where you can complete the health insurance waiver, and lastly, I'll share with you the final deadline for students to make sure their account balances are settled in order to avoid a registration hold. Our office can be reached at accountservices@lclark.edu. Amanda Aldridge and Katie McMean are our two student account specialists. Amanda is the designated contact for students with the last names A through L, and Katie is the students with the last names of M through Z. Jolie Allen is our student account coordinator. Some important dates to remember are the fall 2024 cost payment deadline of August 12th. The last day to waive the student health insurance for the academic year is September 17th. The last day to waive the green energy and media fee is also September 17th. If you are on a payment plan for the fall semester, you'll want to remember November 10th is the last payment for the fall payment plan. And looking ahead, the payment deadline for the spring 2025 semester will be December 12th. Student account information is accessible through the Student Account Center. When a student logs into Web Advisor, they navigate to Student Finance Self-Service under the Financial Information section. Within Self-Service, click Student Account Center, then proceed to Processor to be directed to the Student Account Center. Here, you'll see a summary view of your account details that will display the total amount due after any pending financial aid and sections that allow you to manage your account. At the top is a bell that, when clicked on, provides important notifications, as well as the contact information for Nelnet, our third-party service provider for the Student Account Center. Under your profile information section, you'll see where you can add authorized party access for a parent or guardian by clicking on Add Authorized Party. In this invite screen, you will enter your parent's, guardian, or the responsible party of your account that you wish to provide access to your account details. Once you submit this information, the person you want to have shared access will receive an invite to the Student Account Center and be asked to create credentials of their own to access your student account information. I encourage you to establish access early, as we will be unable to speak with any other party than you about your account information if shared access is not given. From the Student Account Center, you are also able to view details of your account activity by clicking on Transaction Details next to the balance at the top. This provides a live breakdown of current activity on your student account that can be sorted by date, term, description, or amount. If you click on Estimated Aid under Current Activity, you'll be able to detail into the financial aid information. Here you will see fully processed estimated financial aid. This is the financial aid that has not posted to the student account yet, but is ready to post once we begin processing. Should anticipated financial aid not appear in estimated aid, this may be an indication that there is still action required for the aid to fully process. Should you have any questions about the unprocessed financial aid, you should contact the Financial Aid Office at fao@lclark.edu. Students also receive a monthly e-bill notification emailed to them that directs them to log into the Student Account Center and click on View Current Statement. This provides you a snapshot of your student account activity at the time the printable PDF was created. If you have provided authorized party access to another party and they have created their credentials for the Student Account Center, they will also get an email when a monthly e-bill is available for view. Please remember this is only a snapshot in time. You can always see the most current information by clicking on the account activity. Students wishing to pay for their tuition and fees over the course of the semester have the option of a 5-month payment plan through Nelnet. This plan has a $40 setup fee, but there is no interest charge for this plan. In order to enroll in a payment plan through Nelnet, you will need a U.S. bank account. The fall plan started on July 10th and ends on November 10th. Other payment options are to pay in full via credit or debit cards that are subject to a 2.75% convenience fee, or pay using a checking or savings account, which does not have an associated fee, or remitting payment via Flywire for international funds transfers. The last section to review within the Student Account Center is establishing your refund preference. To establish direct deposit, you'll need to provide your personal banking information. This will allow direct payment into your personal bank account if you are eligible for a refund. If direct deposit is not established, a refund check will be mailed to your preferred address on record with the college. Next, I'll share with you the website for waiving the student health insurance. Students who have comparable health insurance of their own may waive from participation in the LC-sponsored student health insurance through the link provided in this slide. All students are initially charged for the student health insurance. Once the waiver is complete, the charge will then be removed from the student account within 24 to 72 hours. Students are provided one opportunity a year to waive coverage for the full academic year. The waiver must be completed by September 17, 2024 for this academic year. Please be sure to note all account balances must be paid in full, covered by fully processed financial aid, or have a payment plan established by August 30th to avoid having a registration hold placed on the account September 3rd, the first day of the semester. I understand this is a lot of information, so please reach out to our office if you have any questions or need additional guidance. Thank you for your time, and we wish you a fantastic semester. Hello.
Okay, lots of info. Again, like Carrie said, this will be posted on, this whole webinar will be recorded and posted on our website under the new student checklists, which is accessible from the first year experience page. Go ahead and drop any questions you have in the Q&A. I see some already popping in there. And just to kind of give everyone a little bit of time, I'm gonna ask Judith a question just as a student. It's great to have the student experience here represented on this webinar. And I was just curious, Judith, if you have any tips about budgeting as a first-time college student and being the first time maybe on your own. Do you have any tips that you can share with incoming students about how you budget for college and for your expenses while you're here?
Yeah, I mean, I personally worked my first year, and beyond that, I've worked. So taking into account my expenses and making sure I'm not living beyond my means has been very important to me, as I don't usually receive much help from my family. So I just kind of make sure that all my expenses and the things I need to pay for are all accounted for, and that I have that, and whatever money I have extra, I usually kind of split up and put some away for a rainy day, and I keep some that obviously to have fun, to go out with friends, to plan trips that you will have a lot of while you're here.
Thanks so much, Judith. Okay, we already have lots of questions coming in here. I know that there was a question earlier and there are a couple additional questions. Carrie, do you want to just talk briefly about paying tuition via 529 for this person, but also for everybody maybe that might have that question on the webinar?
Yeah, definitely. So paying through a 529 plan is really going to depend on the institution that you have your 529 plan funds with. So it's recommended to just connect with your 529 plan institution. Some of them have a connection with the company Flywire, which we also have a connection with. So those funds can be sent electronically if your 529 plan institution has a relationship with Flywire. Otherwise, it would be something where they'd be sending a check directly to Lewis and Clark. But again, that's something that you want to have that conversation with your 529 plan institution, and they'll guide you on the information that they require in order to distribute those funds and how they will distribute the funds to Lewis and Clark.
Thank you. I did see a question. I feel like this might come up about submitting scholarship information and the NELNet balance and account summary on WebAdvisor not necessarily showing that information. So maybe for everybody on the call, Anastasia, could you just talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, no, I'm happy to do that. If you've received a scholarship from a community-based organization or some kind of source external to Lewis and Clark, church, community group, some kind of organization like that, you'll want to have them send the scholarship check to the financial aid office. And then we will make sure that it's reflected on your financial aid offer. And then we will send the check over to our colleagues in student accounts who are just across the hall from our office. And then what happens then is that in general, unless we've been directed otherwise, half of the amount of the scholarship is applied to the fall semester. And then the other half of the scholarship remains on account with the college and then is applied to your spring semester charges. So that's in general how the financial aid works with the with external to Lewis and Clark scholarships. Happy to answer any other questions about that as well.
I see that you're answering a question here. Do you want to answer live about work study or jobs off campus?
Yeah, no, I'm happy to do that. I got about halfway through answering that question, and I'll just answer it live. The question itself was about are there non-work study jobs on campus? And there are a limited number of jobs on campus that don't require work study. Many of those jobs are with our food service provider, which is Bon Appetit, but there may be some other jobs here and there that don't require work study. And so certainly those are positions that students can look at, and they would need to submit an application and then interview with their supervisor and then figure out their time schedule, their work schedule. If students are interested in seeing what types of jobs are open right now, I would encourage you to go to our HR department's website and you want to look at student jobs. And just for now, because you probably haven't worked on campus at Lewis and Clark before, you'll want to click that you're an external candidate, and that way you can just kind of scroll through and look at the different positions that are posted right now. What I will say is that over the next month to 6 weeks, you're going to see a lot more jobs posted. And so don't just think that the positions that are posted today are the only ones. I looked at the positions that were posted yesterday, and there were a good number, but not very many. But as supervisors start preparing for students to return to campus, they will be posting their jobs there. And students are welcome to reach out to supervisors directly or apply through our Workday platform. That's where all of our jobs are housed.
Thanks so much, Anastasia. Yeah, so I do see a couple questions here, and I'm just gonna sort of tie up loose ends there about making sure that you go to our Workday. So HR is who you will find on our website, where you can find employment, job opportunities, and it will clarify work study and whatnot there. That is who you're going to go through for the work study payments for putting those towards your tuition. So just HR is going to be the department that kind of runs that. And like Anastasia said, there are going to be jobs popping up. In fact, our newsletter is going to go out today. And I just put in a little shout out from the Career Center, who is looking for a couple incoming students for work study. So definitely keep your eyes out there, and you can apply and do maybe some online remote interviews over the summer. And if you're interested in working in the Career Center as an incoming student, check out that posting that'll be in the newsletter today. Let's see. A question here about setting up a payment plan, and July was taken already. Do we prorate the remainder 4 payments for the semester minus the health waiver? And any loans taken out, we don't want to underpay accidentally. Carrie, is that possibly a question you could answer?
Yeah, definitely. So when you have a monthly payment plan, you can, if you've over budgeted, you can reduce that plan at any point in time, or also increase it if you've under budget and need to increase the plan. So you'd want to go ahead and reach out to your student account specialist, and they can work with you on reducing that budget to meet your actual cost if you, which it sounds like, have currently over budgeted what you need to have for a monthly payment plan.
Thank you. A question about not clear on where the student starts and how to get to the point of adding a parent as a user. The phrase that we're looking for here is authorized party. Carrie, do you want to clarify or add on a little bit about authorized party there?
Yeah, so authorized party is something where the students would access that information. So the first step is the students need to log into their Student Account Center portal. And then within that portal, right on the dashboard, there is a section that says Manage Account Access. And the student would be clicking on that, and they would input the information for each individual that they want to have access to their account. And the information that they just need is to have the person's name and their email. And then that individual will then get an invitation sent to their email that says you've been invited to have authorized party to this student's Lewis and Clark student account. Do you accept this? And you would accept that, and then go through the process of creating your own username and password to have your own login into the Student Account Center.
That's scary. There's a question here about a recommended amount for monthly spending money. Judith, do you by any chance have an idea as a student from your perspective?
That's kind of hard. It really does depend on the month. There'll be certain months where you don't spend as much. So during final season, you probably won't be doing much going out. But with that time also comes holidays. So you have to also consider if you want to get family or friends gifts, consider that. But I personally probably monthly on just my natural expenses, probably around 200, 300. But it really just depends on the type of person you are and how frugal or not you are.
Right, thanks, Judith. Let's see. Oh, got that one. How and when do students apply for work study jobs? Are they by semester or a year? There's definitely a variety of different jobs when it comes to work study. For example, you can see Judith here is working over the summer as a student worker here. It really just depends on the job. So I think, like Anastasia said, constantly be checking that HR website, which is like Workday is what it's called. That's where they house all of the current job openings. So just keep checking there, and likely you'll find jobs that maybe last a semester, maybe that last a year, that will just are over the summer. If anyone has anything they want to add on the call, feel free regarding work study.
Yeah, I'll go ahead. I just answered a question in the Q&A, but I'll answer a little bit broader. A lot of times students will decide to kind of put off doing their work study, and that's totally fine. It's really, work study is at it's available for you, the student, to use if that's going to work for you. We have a number of students who, for whatever reason, because of extracurricular commitments or athletic commitments, will decide to start their work study later in the year. Now, the jobs that are available now may not be available in the spring or later in the fall, maybe after the sport or other activity have wrapped up. But there are usually jobs being posted throughout the year. And because Lewis and Clark has such a strong overseas program, they're always, I mean, the students are upper division students who are here now. Many of them may be leaving in the spring to go on an overseas program. And so there may be job openings available because of that. And so I just want to let people know that, you know, there's not a requirement that you have to start working right away. That, you know, you can work your work study award in a way that kind of fits your schedule and your kind of your preferences, what's going to work well for you.
Thank you. Hourly pay range for work study?
So the hourly pay range for work study is usually right around the Oregon minimum wage. And the Oregon minimum wage goes up every July. So I'm just going to Google that really quickly. Some of the positions pay a little bit more than that. Let's see. For the Portland metro area, the current Oregon minimum wage is $15.95 an hour. And so any of the work study positions would be at least that. Some of them, depending on the type of experience or expertise that the job requires, may pay more than that, but they will all be at least $15.95 an hour.
Yeah, we have a question here from an international student about opening a global account card. Does anyone have any information about that? If not, I know you would definitely want to reach out to international students and scholars, but I do want to just give anyone a chance here if they have information about it.
I don't have any information on that, but not only reaching out to international students and scholars, but we will also be giving a joint presentation with international students and scholars, and that would be a great place to ask that question also when that presentation happens during NSO.
Great. Thanks, Carrie. I also know that during international student orientation, they will have, I think, a bank, maybe multiple banks that are on campus and that are going to specifically present to international students and help walk you through the process of setting up an account if that is an option that you would like to take them up on.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's see. I know we have answered a lot of questions, so I'm wondering if there are any questions that you have answered, any of the panelists that you know to be very common questions. If you would like to just mention a question that you were asked and that you answered in the Q&A, feel free at this point.
I'll just jump in because there's a question asking, once a student gives access to their parent of their student account, can it be arranged that the parent is the only person who receives financial information, not the student? And so I wanted to touch on that. The student will always be our primary contact because the account is tied to their social security number. And so as you're invited as an authorized party, the student has allowed us to share that information with you. And so you'll receive information simultaneously, but we can't arrange it so that only an authorized party receives account information without the student being notified.
Thanks, Katie.
And just to also touch on that a little bit more, it's actually the student is the one that we're connecting with for all of our communications. Authorized party is just enabling you to be able to get those monthly billing notifications. So any sort of direct communications that we're having, they're going to be with this student when we're having those one-off communications and reaching out to them. So it's giving you the access to log in, look at the account, and be able to get billing notifications, but all other kind of communications are going directly to the student as our primary individual that owns the account.
There's a question here, a couple questions here that are, one of them has to do a little bit with work study per semester, which we heard from Anastasia, you can take, there are opportunities for work study just by semester. But then the follow-up question is there an estimate for spring semester costs? Would anybody be able to answer that question?
Yeah, I'd be happy to answer this question. So unless a student changes anything regarding their housing or changes in financial aid, then their cost should be the same for the spring semester as the fall semester. And if you have any questions about what the costs look like for this semester as well as the spring semester, you can always look at your student account in the Student Account Center with Nelnet, or you can also find the list of costs and charges for per semester under undergraduate costs, tuition and costs on the Student and Departmental Account Services page.
Thank you. Let's see, any other questions that we have seen that we want to highlight? What if a student has health insurance for the first semester but loses it for the second? Can they still get on the school's coverage?
Yes, and actually you're required to get on the school's coverage. So should you lose your insurance that you had utilized to waive as being the comparable insurance, then you would reach out to the school and we will go ahead and get you added to the Lewis and Clark student health insurance plan through Pacific Source in order to have that coverage.
Thanks, Carrie. Let's see. A question again about how to get a detailed bill for the fall and spring. I believe it was somewhere in transaction details. Is that correct? I'm seeing shaking heads, yes.
Yes. Under your login as an authorized party or as a student, if you click on transaction details, you'll be able to see a breakdown, a line by line of all the charges that are included in fall. And once spring is uploaded, then those will be there as well.
Yeah, and the transaction details section of that is actually the live account information. So that is going to give you up-to-minute information. And then there is also underneath transaction details, you can click on a date section that says bills and that gives you date parameters. If you needed to click on it to get a PDF copy, say for purposes of a 529 plan institution requiring a PDF copy of a bill, that's where you want to go to get that PDF copy.
Thank you. Regarding health insurance, are there options for students to continue on that insurance after they graduate, or COBRA option or anything like that?
So that is something that would not be managed directly through the school. So any sort of COBRA plan that would be available after the student graduates would be something that you would connect with Pacific Source on directly and paying them directly for any sort of plan that you wanted to get. And that would be the same if you wanted to get something that's above and beyond the current existing plan that we have through Pacific Source.
Thanks, Carrie. There's a green energy and a media fee. If students waive that, how exactly does that affect the student at all? It does.
It doesn't. The students can still participate in both of those programs. So it is optional to be able to contribute funds to them, but it doesn't mean that you can no longer access listening to KLC radio or getting the paper or anything like that.
The health insurance, is that cost broken down by semester? So charged half to the first semester and half to the second?
I'll jump in. Yes, it is charged per semester. So you would have a charge that is currently on if you haven't waived it, your fall semester bill, and then you'll also get charged again for spring.
Also, something with the health insurance charge is that if you waive the health insurance in fall, that means you have waived for the entire academic year. So you not be charged again in spring and will need to waive again. So you will already have it waived for that semester if you waive in fall.
Thanks, Amanda.
So we've had some questions about the process for getting a work study job. And I'm wondering if Judith, maybe you can, if you have anything to share from a student's perspective about how you applied for work at different jobs on campus?
Of course. Well, for applying to work, I most typically browse Workday. When I when I don't have a job, I just browse Workday and try to see something that catches my attention or seems like it would be something that I would enjoy doing. And I just apply. Most of the time, applications are somewhat simple, nothing too complicated. Always have an updated resume. But if you don't, the not college advising, the Career Center can help you work your resume and be the best candidate that you can be. But yeah, that's kind of how it goes. And a lot of times there are positions open, and just talking to faculty and staff, it can open a lot of doors for you.
Judith, I think I see a question that Anastasia's answering about, I believe you do have to create an account in Workday to apply for a job.
Yes, you do.
And that is generally when you apply for a job kind of anywhere. A lot of different institutions will have their own system where they take applications and they file all of that information there. So then if you want to apply for multiple jobs, they have everything there for you already kind of plugged in. So. Feel free to answer any of these live if anyone would like to answer a question that they're working on. A link to work.
I can.
Go ahead.
Yeah, maybe Judith, do you think you can put a link in the chat to where the student jobs are posted on Workday?
Yeah.
Okay, and then I'll answer that. We have another question about student loans, and one of the three steps to accepting your federal student loans. One is to go into the financial aid self-service and tell us, Lewis and Clark, that yes, you do want to borrow your loans. And then the next steps are to log into the studentaid.gov. That's the place where you filed your FAFSA. You'll use the information, your student will use the ID and password that they use to file the FAFSA to log into that site. And they will be asked to do what's called entrance counseling, which is a kind of an online discussion information session about their rights and responsibilities as a student loan borrower. They will also be asked to complete what's called a master promissory note. And that's the promissory note that any of the loans that they are borrowing at Lewis and Clark through the federal student loan program will be dispersed under that promissory note. If there is not a requirement that parents participate in the entrance counseling, But certainly if you want to sit down with your student as they go through the entrance counseling, just so that you're as aware as they are of the different rights and responsibilities in the federal student loan program, you're welcome to do that. And there is really it's a requirement, so we have to have everybody do that, but it is really good information, and really good information about different repayment plans that are available, different safeguards that are available within the federal student loan program. And so it's really good information. And so not only is your student required to do that, but I think they should, and you're welcome to sit down with them as they do it.
Katie, you want to answer the payment plan?
Yeah, so the question is, what date does a payment plan need to be set up by? And the best answer I can give is as soon as possible. The payment plan for fall semester starts in July and ends in November. And the farther along we go through those months, the more you have to initially pay at enrollment. As you enroll in July, right now, you have to make the July payment, so 1/5 of whatever you set up the payment plan for. If you waited until August, you have to make July and August payments as you enroll. There may be a deadline out there that says by July 31st. I don't think you're able even to start the payment plan process or enroll in the payment plan process once we get into October. But until then, you're able to set up the payment plan with an increasing amount down before the auto drafted payments take over for subsequent months. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, and that is correct what Katie was indicating. As far as after a certain point, it's going to require school approval for you to get that plan set up. So once you are at where you would essentially be making only 2 payments left, then it's going to send a request to your student account specialist asking them if it's okay for this person to go ahead and set up a plan, with it being only two payments remaining on a plan.
We've heard this question before, but the green energy and media fee are optional. They do not affect the student if they are waived. They can still participate in those activities and those opportunities. Keep the questions coming.
Melody, since we don't have any questions right now, I think this would be a good opportunity. I just feel like so we're getting a lot of work study questions to just kind of clarify, and I apologize if Anastasia, you did say this when you were discussing work study, but just clarify again that work study funds are not something that attributes directly to a student's account. It is something that student goes out, they seek a position at Lewis and Clark, apply for the job, and then they're getting those monthly distributions as a paycheck. So just as you would with any traditional job, you are working hours and getting paid for those hours, and those funds are coming to you via a paycheck or direct deposit, however you set it up, but it's not something that's going against a student account.
Yeah, that's thanks, Carrie. That's a really good point. What we advise is that your student's work study earnings are a really good source for the student's personal expenses. So the student will they will need to buy, different kind of personal expenses. They want to go out to pizza with a friend. They will need to buy shampoo and deodorant, laundry detergent. All of those kinds of things are really good uses for the work study funding. Also, in planning ahead, students are required to, or students need to purchase books for their classes. And so when you're coming to Lewis and Clark in the fall semester, you want to make sure that your student has money in order to purchase their fall semester books. But one of the things that students can do with the money that they've earned through work study over the course of the fall semester is save some of that money and use that to purchase their spring semester books. So in general, we advise people to use the work study funding for personal expenses and books. Perhaps they can use some of their spring semester work study earnings to pay for their flight back home. Those sorts of things are really good uses for a student's work study funding.
Thanks, Anastasia. Kind of going off of that with this question here about bank accounts. So there's a question about putting money in their account, and Anastasia mentioned some great ways to use work study money that's coming in there for different things that students will need to purchase when they're here. Regarding bank accounts, during orientation, the first day of orientation and the first day of parent and family preview, which is on Wednesday, August 28th, the first half of that day, we will have a couple different banks that will be available in case students want to set up an account. They're welcome to. We won't have, every bank that is in the area, but that first half of the day, which is, move-in day and everything, if you're coming out of town, coming from out of town, it may be helpful to think about that day as the morning if you need to go purchase things from Fred Meyer, from Target, you want to make a quick run. You can also use that first half of the day time of orientation to take care of things like setting up a bank account. But know that we'll also have a couple banks represented on campus in case you want to do that while you're here. Let's see. Judith, do you have any recommendations for sites for used textbooks? Any websites that you use?
I personally really like Abe Books. It's very, very inexpensive. It's some of the best like books that I found, that not just textbooks, but also just regular books that certain classes ask for. I found them very inexpensive on there, and sometimes you won't find the most recent copy of a book or the newest version of the textbook, but you can always work with your professors when it comes down to things like that and tell them, I can get this edition, is it okay? And most of the time they will say yes.
And I just dropped that website. It's abebooks.com. I have also used that website, so it's a great website for those books. Katie, would you like to answer a question about the payment plan?
Yeah. So the question is, if we set up a payment plan with the first payment and then a payment comes in from a grandparent, 529 between payment dates, what happens to the remaining plan payment amounts? And it's the payment plan, if there's a change to the balance of the account, big payment from the 529, a change in room costs, the payment plan balance can be adjusted. We don't want you to overpay. We don't want you to underpay. You just have to reach out to the student account specialist associated with your student, and we can help decrease the overall payment plan balance and sort of sort out the rest of the payments that will come up so that, like I say, you're not overpaying or underpaying.
Mm-hmm.
This can also apply for when, say, you set up a payment plan and you decided to accept further financial aid, and your financial aid disperses to your account and now your payment plan's over budgeted. You can also, in that case, reach out to us and we can adjust your payment plan to match the current balance that's due.
Thanks, Amanda. There's a question here about when the list from professors comes out for which books to purchase, and if there's an estimated cost for books for students per semester.
Yeah, so with professors, some will email ahead of time and they will say what books are needed for the class, while some others will wait until the first day of class and release that list along with the syllabus and by when those books are going to be needed. And estimated costs, it really does depend on which classes your students are taking. There's been times where I've spent less than $100 for a full semester of books, and then there's been times where I've had to pay around $200 to $300 for access codes and things like that with online textbooks.
Yeah,
Thanks, Judy.
just kind of building on what Judith was saying, the financial aid office, every several years, we survey our students and just ask what, you know, what they're paying on books and supplies. And supplies can include things for like art courses, it can include notebooks and things like that, as well as just books. And what and like Judith was saying, I mean, it depends if you're in a couple of courses where there are, and I know in particular, we hear from students that language courses can be particularly costly in terms of the textbook expenses, because what you're really buying is a code where you can access a portal where it's more than just a textbook, which is why it costs more than that. And so there can be quite a lot of variability, but the results of our survey that we did most recently was that students were spending about $400 per semester on books and supplies. Now, just realize that, you know, like Judith was saying, I mean, there's going to be some semesters where you're really not going to be spending that much at all. But there may be some semesters where your textbook expenses are a little bit more than that. But I think Judith has given some good suggestions on maybe some different ways to be able to access less expensive textbook options.
Thanks, everyone. And I would like to use this time to plug checking your Lewis and Clark email. I think this is a great opportunity to mention. You'll notice, you know, professors will email you potentially your book lists. We are emailing you often. You will hear information about your financial account from the panelists here today. So that Lewis and Clark email is very important. I know most everybody has set up their Lewis and Clark email, which we're so happy about, but checking it and keeping up with any communication that is happening, that is where everything is going. So just being extra on top of it. I just wanted to give a quick little plug there. And it looks like most of these questions have died down, which is great. I think we've gotten through 52 questions. Amazing. And I'm gonna kind of wrap it up here. If any final questions come up, feel free to drop them in and we'll get them answered before we finish here. But a little reminder about the tasks for this week. Just kind of learn more about managing your Lewis and Clark costs if you go to the checklist website, which another plug for how to navigate our website. The search bar is going to be your best friend. If you want the checklist, you go checklist in the search bar. It's going to find you your first year checklists. If you want webinars, type in new student webinars or just webinars, it will probably find our new student webinars. So if you're not sure where to navigate in the website, the search bar is really well calibrated and can be really helpful if you're just looking for something. But find our checklist and you can find some great information about managing your Lewis and Clark costs there, thanks to Student Accounts that has given us that information. As we mentioned, authorized party, if you as a student would like to give access to a friend, family member, somebody to be able to access your financial account, you will first have to enroll them as an authorized party. If you go to the checklist, there are great helpful links to find information about how to do that. If you missed earlier in this webinar, we'll also be posting this recording. Completing the health insurance waiver. If you have health insurance and you would like to waive the school's health insurance, you do have to do that once a year, yearly. So making sure that you do that before before September, I believe there's is it September 12th or 17th?
The 17th, I do recommend doing it before the due date though, just so that you have a clean bill reflecting that waiver coming off. Which the due date for this fall semester is August 12th.
Perfect. Thanks, Carrie. So that August 12th date, that is your date when you have to have your account settled, as in you have to pay or you have to make sure that you are enrolled in a payment plan. And as soon as you can get the health insurance waiver, do it sooner rather than later. But I do know I've gotten a couple questions about people needing information about moving and stuff like that in order to prove, you know, a qualified, you know, incident to be able to change insurance and stuff like that. So if you need to wait, you can, but it's always better to do it earlier. And then as we mentioned, settling your student account by August 12th. That is our due date. And a little look at next week. We don't have any specific tasks, but we do have a very helpful webinar that I think everyone should also attend. And that is a webinar to learn all about how to register for classes. So another big important part, we've got finances, we've got registering for classes. All of this stuff is leading up to you all coming in the fall here really soon, and we're very excited to have you. So come drop by. It's at the same time next week. So it'll be Tuesday at 1 o'clock, and we'll hear from the College Advising Center all about how to register for classes, which you'll do the following week. And that is all we have for you today. So thanks so much for all of your questions, and thank you so much to all of our panelists. We will hopefully see you next week. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us, firstyear@lclark.edu, or you can reach out to our panelists here, student accounts, or financial aid. And that is all we have for you. So thanks so much. We'll see you next week.